Yes, sir.
Right
turn
there.
right there.
Yeah.
1 2 1 2. Okay, there
What's
we
good,
go.
man?
What's good?
I see you in a minute,
Yeah,
man.
yeah,
What's
yeah.
going on?
Absolutely. How you doing?
Hello.
All right, all right.
So what you been up to, man?
I'm good. You know, just grinding. You know, the
Yeah.
album Salvation is out. Duck Down Records and all that. You know,
Yeah,
moving crazy
congratulations
numbers.
on that, man.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Yeah, the
Before we
album's
get into
moving.
anything, man.
Okay.
We gonna get into your album. 'Cause
Okay.
You done dropped many.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the Double XL? Because my man Skyzoo.
Oh man,
Come on, man.
Now, I mean, at this point, you know, I've done so much. You know what I mean? I done did so much as far as the records and as far as who I worked with and as far as touring and all that. So it ain't really affect me because I guess I'm a freshman, but then some people think I'm not. You know what I mean? And I ain't really too mad at the conversation because if you look at everything I did, I mean, I charted on Billboard. Like, my joint came out, I was number 14 album in the country. Like, number 4 best-selling debut that week on Billboard. So, I mean, like, you know, you get and you give. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I mean, you know, I seen your work. And I know you've
Absolutely.
been around. You know what I mean? And sometimes, you know, people see what you're doing, but they don't see. And I felt that, you know, you should have been one of those dudes that was on there. I mean, like, coming from all those dudes that on there, you know, I know you know some of them or know all of them. You know what I'm saying? How do you feel like, who's the dopest dude on there that you like, yeah, he's dope?
Let me see. I like J. Cole. I like Freddie Gibbs. He's dope. A lot of people don't, you know, really know too much about him.
Yeah.
He's from the Midwest and all that, but he get busy. I like Freddie Gibbs. Fashawn is dope. You know, they all do their thing one way or another. You know what I mean? But the three of them is real dope. Big Sean is dope. I know him. He's a cool dude. He's real dope. You know, they get busy. It was a good cover. You know what I mean? I wasn't mad at it. Like I said, you know, there definitely was merit for me to be on it, but at the same time, I'm not mad at it because of what I've achieved.
Yeah,
so
most
I'm good regardless. You know what I mean? But when people like you say that, and people in the street, and people on Twitter and all that, that's when it means something. When they running around like, yo, I can't believe Sky ain't on it. Like, that's when it mean the most. Because I could say it in the crib and be mad if that was the case, but if nobody else saying it, it don't mean nothing. But when it's the other way around, it means something.
All right. I mean, so how do you feel about the underground, you know, like some people consider you underground, you know what I'm saying? Like, not backpackers, because I listen to your music,
Well, let's ask him, how would you categorize your craft, your style? Would you categorize it as like underground?
Nah, I wouldn't. I think.
Let's sum it up real quick for the people.
Yeah, I mean, people, you know, people get the underground box and all that for any artist, whether it's me or anybody else. A lot of times it could come with, you know, the type of music you make. A lot of times it come by people you run with or you hang with or association or the label you want. You know, it's a lot of different factors of it. You know what I mean? I don't think what I do is underground. If you listen to my music and you listen to content of it, like you said, you know, you got records like Necessary Evils, Shooter's Soundtrack, My Interpretation, Metal Hearts. Those is not underground records. Like, you know what I mean? Like, those is like Brooklyn, Southside, Queens. Like, those is those type of records. So it could be an association thing, it could be label thing, whatever it is. But I make the music I want to make. And for me, I call it like reality music. You know what I mean? Because everything I talk about really happened in one capacity or another. And as far as the scene, the underground scene, a lot of New Yorkers is getting bunched in that because you may not hear us on the radio. I think what determines underground and not is presence, radio, TV. You know what I mean? Like,
all that type of stuff.
Yeah, like that's what makes people say, is he underground or not? If you hear somebody on the radio all day, Drake, Nicki Minaj, people like that, you'll be like, okay, they mainstream. If you see somebody who's popping but they not on the radio, they not on TV all day, you're going, okay, I'll say they underground. You know what I mean? So it's different ways you could go about it.
You said about reality rap. I know you started writing when you were like 8 or 9 years old.
Like 9, yeah.
What were you writing about?
I don't even remember from back then, to tell you the truth. But it was whatever was going on. Yeah, like it was whatever was going on around me. You know what I mean? Just little things, nothing major, but just that was when it started. That was when the crafting started. That was when I first got into it.
What's your situation? How did you get down with Duck Down Records? Because that's a legendary.
Yeah, absolutely. Shout to Duck Down. You know, the whole team. The way I got with Duck Down, I was getting a lot of offers from labels for the album, for the Salvation. You know, majors, indies. A lot of people was on the table, and Duck Down was one of the people on the table. They was hollering and they wanted to do the deal. So my man Ninth Wonder, a lot of people know I roll heavy with Ninth. That's like the big brother. Shout to Ninth all day. So me and Ninth was kicking it because he's on the album. Like, you know, at the time he only had 2 joints. Now he got 5, but at the time he only had 2 joints on the album. So we was talking about those and the business side of it and, you know, how much and all that. And he was like, yo, listen, man, like, we so close, I don't even know what to really charge you. I could figure something out and look out for you, but at the same time, I got a label situation. So he was like, I got a thing called Jamla Records. I'm getting ready to start off. If you would be down to jump it off and be the first artist, you already got a buzz. You're already set up, this, that, and the third. So I was like, yeah, you know what we got to do? He was like, the distribution is through Duck Down. And I was like, dude, they just made me an offer last week. Like, it's perfect. It made perfect sense because they want to do it. You want to do it, so let's just make it happen. So that's how it pretty much went down.
So you basically signed under Ninth Wonder through
Yeah,
Duck Down.
it's Jamla, Duck Down. It's kind of like a Rock Def Jam type thing. Like it's Jamla, Duck Down.
Well, get into the Rock Def Jam thing because the Rock, you know, I know Ninth Wonder's cool with Jay-Z and all that. Did you ever meet Jay and kick it with him?
Years ago, like 02. You know what I mean? 02 I met Jay. It was such a long time ago, but yeah, he real cool dude. You know what I mean?
All right.
Yeah.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
So you got like you came with a couple of albums. Like this is your official album?
This is my debut. Like this is my only built for Cuban Links, my Illmatic, my Ready to Die. Like this is my debut. You know, all the other stuff I had 5-6 mixtapes. I had an EP with Ninth Wonder called Cloud 9. All that was really like setting the buzz up, getting the name popping, kicking in the door, you know what I mean? Just getting in the game, and then the Salvation is the debut. You know what I mean?
Okay. So like far as like with New York, you know, they say you always gotta have that record.
Right.
Like, do you consider your, like, you know, like you said, the Nicki Minaj's, the Drakes.
Right.
Like, they somewhat say that's a mainstream record. On your album, did you look for mainstream records, or you said, I'm just going to do Skyzoo?
Yeah, on this album, you know, it was my first joint, like I said, so I really wanted to lay down the groundwork and the foundation to build a legendary career. You look at all the people like Jay, Big, Nas, people like that, Snoop. You know, they made that first album the way they wanted to make it. And they made it mean something, regardless if it had radio or not. People don't realize with Reasonable Doubt, like, that was considered an underground album at the time. You know what I mean? You had, you know, a lot of other people running around making bigger records or quote-unquote bigger records. That was looked at as an underground album. Like, that album didn't move the way people think it did 10, 15 years later. Like, I was there when that album came out. I remember buying that album, people being like, dude, you didn't buy it, it was written? You bought Reasonable Doubt? You know what I mean? Like, he was considered an underground dude. But obviously, you see where he's at now. You know what I mean? So it's all about laying that foundation. And it all starts with, like, that first joint that you plant, that first album. So moral of the story, the Salvation is my first joint. And I wanted to tell a story. I wanted to make what could be considered a flawless album. People call it a classic album, whatever it might be. I just wanted to make what to me was the perfect album. You know what I mean? And later on, we could get what we got to get. We can make sure we got those records, quote unquote. But I wanted the Salvation to be that joint where people go back 10 years. Like, yo, you remember when the Salvation came out? You remember September 29th? Yo, crazy. I still listen to it now. Like, I wanted that to be that album. You know what I mean?
So what do you think about the, like, what is your view on, like, the J Electronica? Like, you know, the craze. Like, you know, I heard the records. I heard a couple of records, but I'm like, okay, you know, it is what it is. But you're a dude that been grinding. What do you feel like rating with a J Electronica?
I think it's dope because what it does is continue to create lane for other artists like J Electronica, like me, like a Torre, like so many other artists that are out there, especially coming from New York. Jay, you know, he's obviously not from New York, but he got that sound. He make those type of records. You know what I mean? So it carves the lane. You know what I mean? When you get a record like that playing on radio, pretty much in rotation now. It's going to be a little easier. It doesn't mean it's going to be a cakewalk for everybody coming in next, but it's going to make it a little easier. And as far as hollering, twitter.com/TheRealSkyzoo, everything spelled out the right way.
I got to follow you, brother.
Yeah, absolutely.